So the security of 32.5 lakh cards has been breached, but the number of people whose accounts have really been, taken money from stolen is really very small. So not much worry on that account. But our big question tonight is how to protect customers from dangers of increased use of technology in the banking sector. And we have someone from the banking sector to talk about it. We have Dr. Narendra Kumar Bhasin, his former Vice President of Axis Bank. Welcome, sir. And also Pawan Duggal, noted cybercrime expert. First, to you, Dr. Bhasin, what do you make of this crisis in the first place? How do you think something of this sort happened? Because it's the largest breach in the country as far as debit cards are concerned.
See, if you think that the journey we have traveled from the manual banking and clearing system and we have reached the era of digital internet banking, so I think this is the first time such a breach has happened. Though the banks are already, it's a very secure system and regulated system. We have so much security firewall. And if you see all the systems of credit card, debit card, it's not a single transaction. For customer, it means just withdrawing the money. But at same time, within a fraction of a second, 7 to 8 interconnected with the payment gateway, we have payment processors, and it's a very secure system. But since it has happened now, sir, I think it's a lesson that digital banking, this is the first thing which will happen. But again, customer security has to be there because RBI is right and banking always for the service industry. So I think still we are investigating why this fraud happened and what are the breaches. But as we have seen that so many things have come, that customer password security.
The speculation has been that it happened at point of service, but then again, we're not sure. It's not 100% sure that that's where it happened.
Like forcing audit has been audited. Mr. AP Hota just a few minutes back, he has given a statement that customer password has been changed. Since I am also account holder of ICIG, I also got a mail that since I have not been, anything has been. So it's okay. But the things that learning that what next? Or is just a beginning? Things report has to yet to come, how much the volume of the fraud is there. But this is a really eye-opener for I think.
Okay, Pawan Duggal, what do you make of the fact that this has happened mostly with cards? It seems where there's a point of service, a POS terminal, it could be in a shop or in ATMs, most probably in ATMs. And thankfully, it's not because of online transactions, which is again another area which is of now concern.
Well, I think I'm seeing a broader picture. And as a person working in this space, I'm beginning to get slightly concerned because you had to have this kind of a cyber attack for India to wake up. Till now, India had only been doing lip service.
Do you think it's a cyber attack, not just an online fraud, electronic fraud?
By no stretch, it's only an electronic fraud. It's a cyber attack that's targeted not against a particular bank, a particular network. It's targeting the economy of India as a whole. And I want to go a step further to say, well, it's actually a manifestation of cyber terror because the guys want to create.
Is that because the information that a lot of transactions of these nature have been made in China?
It's not exactly that. We are not even sure whether it's originated from China. But when you look at the object behind it, it's very clear. They want to create terror amongst those huge users and subscribers of ATM cards that your ATM card is not very secure. That being so, I think this is a much
And the
bigger
timing is
game
also very critical, at the start, at the peak of the festive period here in the country.
And that's the timing they chose for the purposes of creating maximum havoc. And plus,
people
please
spend.
understand, yes, people spend. But this is not happening yesterday or day before. This is happening for the last few weeks. Till now, banks have been in a state of denial. 48 hours earlier, banks were saying, well, we are absolutely secure. Now we are beginning to say
What
change.
sort of measures, if I could ask you, Mr. Bhasin, Dr. Bhasin, do banks have in place to forestall, to thwart such attacks?
No, see, cyber attacks, this is like a big volume it has happened. Earlier also, like I have been for last 32 years banking industry. And last 5 to 6 years, even cyber attack have increased. But that of nature of phishing attack or email or telephoning where the password has been shared. But this is something where the data has been
altogether. This is something
where the data has been breached. And the question will now come that how our Visa Master and the payment processor like Hitachi, where all the information has been shared. Like I said that it's only up to debit card, not online fraud something happen. But now the question coming out, all the banks are saying that change the password, but that is only after that. Changing the password.
But what sort of firewalls are in place?
Firewalls always there because in all the banks we have double security firewall, and then like online banking you are getting the one-time password also. Because if you trace last 10 years since the digital banking and cyber fraud is happening, because every time all the banks are coming with one type of precaution, but then we find the fraudster hack it and then they come with another. Like recently now banks have said they use only our ATM only.
Yes.
But that is, I
The
think
other thing is, Pawan, Duggal, they've also said that most of the cards where this has happened are the ones that do not have chips. Now that is also a measure that needs to be necessarily put in place for every cardholder.
I think banks need to do far more on increasing cyber security.
Okay.
Well, way back in 2011, when the G. Gopalakrishna working group came in, which I was a member, we recommended various steps for information security. And we found out
they've not been followed.
They have not been followed up by complete community per se, by a number of banks. Let me give you an example. As of June 2016, RBI mandated that all banks in India must have their own dedicated cyber security policy, which will be distinct and different from their IT security policy.
That's
and
a
all banks
relatively recent development.
And all banks were supposed to do it by 30th of September, and we
Okay.
find that there are gaps. So obviously we need to give a topmost priority to cybersecurity. Number two, as a nation, we need to have a dedicated legislation on cybersecurity, which is missing. We are all relying upon the Information Technology Act, but please understand, the Information Technology Act 2000 was an e-commerce enabling legislation. The amendments in 2008 only made some cosmetic changes on cybersecurity. Plus the ground realities of 2008 are dramatically different from 2016. So in this scenario, at a time when the National Cybersecurity Policy of 2013 has just remained a paper tiger, it's time for us to wake up, take this as a wake-up call like Estonia did in 2007 and work extensively on cybersecurity.
See, Dr. Bhasin, clearly the focus right now is to contain the damage and to let people know that they don't need to panic because not too many people have been affected.
Yes.
And those who've been affected, they will be compensated for their loss.
that is sure, because in earlier cyber attacks also customer will not be suffer. In case if the bank lapses are there, customers have always been
But this clearly underlines the fact that the customer needs to be doubly cautious now.
Yeah, because now the steps which we are getting, that all the banks are saying that change the password, regularly change, and don't use the other ATM. But this will be
Because
going
if
to
something of this sort happens, the bank will not take you for your word that you didn't do this.
Yeah,
you have
that
to sort
is-
of
that is
establish
for
that you
sure.
haven't.
That is a
you
really
haven't taken the money out.
reputation loss, I will say, because on one hand we are marketing for digital, but now this will 3 steps back will go. Well, I have been a banker. I used to open the account. Customers, when we used to ask to tick whether you want a card or e-statement, they said, no, we don't want, because we are not sure whether the frauds happen, because this is a real reality. Like,
So the first vanguard to stopping these attempts is the customer itself. Mr. Duggal, you feel that it is incumbent upon the customer to take the precautions, and banks keep on sending these warnings against phishing, against a lot of other these techniques that are now used to take the money out.
The customer is the weakest link
Okay.
in the cybersecurity ecosystem. So we need to strengthen him. But let's not bombard him with these messages now,
Okay.
after the attacks have taken place. We need to do it on a consistent level as we go forward. And in fact, ultimately, we need to inculcate a culture of cybersecurity amongst all users in the digital and mobile ecosystem. Why? Because this is now central. The fact that we will be targeted, we will be attacked, hacked, is a given reality. The bigger issue is how quickly can we handle it, how quickly can we be cyber resilient and come back to normalcy. That's a bigger question. And I think India needs to not only come up domestically with appropriate legislation, internationally speaking,
Yes.
India needs to be part of the global debate on how
PM
the
has also
rules
been
of the
saying that
norms
we
have
need
to
to
be.
combine our efforts because this is huge. The cyber threat is huge.
The cyber threat is huge, and we need to take thought leadership, even at international level, because assuming we tomorrow as a nation come to know who did it, can we actually get the concerned person to book in a court of law? I have my own doubts. So the norms of behavior in cyberspace are developing at a global level. India needs to take thought leadership, and more significantly, cybersecurity must inform all our policy, decision making, and also capacity building and awareness creation.
Right, because this is a universal risk to any sort of activity, whether it's governmental or non-governmental, from the individual to the collective. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening to talk about this vital subject. I'm sure a necessary action will be taken, not just to track down the people who've committed this crime, it is crime, but also safeguards will be put in place that will ensure that this doesn't happen in future. Thanks a lot for joining us.